I was the baby of a week of it. I was the youngest one there, and the others had quite a bit more television experience than I had. In many ways, we were breaking new ground because that sort of thing hadn't really been done here. In fact, wasn't, as far as I can gather, being done much else anywhere else in the world. There had been that show in Britain when I was a kid. That was the week that was, and I think a week of it may have been loosely based upon that. We had a lot of fun, but God, it was nerve-wracking. We were virtually live, not quite. We were about half an hour off live, but there was no time to edit, to cover up any stuff-ups, of which there were many. And but yeah, it was a real team thing, and we had a lot of fun and learned a lot, and the audience seemed to follow along with it. Looking back on some of it now, what still exists, which is little, it's rough as guts, in all ways. The politicians were actually wanting to get on it, and I think Muldoon was politically savvy enough and clever enough, rather than object to the thing, he suddenly announced that it was his favourite program on television, and which sort of took the wind out of your sails, really. He likes it. The network decided that they wanted an hour rather than half an hour, but decided we could have the same resources for an hour as we did for half an hour, which is sort of stretching things a bit. So that was hard work. The fertiliser hit the expilaire, as it were, and there was a nationwide outcry from every religious group, apart from the Catholics. Didn't seem to worry the Catholics. They said, no, we're bigger than this. Oh, one morning there was something like 26 letters to the editor in the press here in Christchurch about how we were going to rot in hell. And then it got, we laughed about it for a while, and then it did start getting nasty. David in particular had a number of anonymous phone calls which were answered by his daughter, who was only about 6 at the time, with Anna, with death threats and things like that, and led to us both getting unlisted numbers. But it became very unpleasant. People were becoming frustrated and angry, both with Muldoon and then later with Roger Douglas and Roger Nomics, and I'd heard people say when something came out, oh, wait till McPhail Gadsby gets hold of that, and which was a nice feeling. You felt you were being a sort of, people were getting an almost vicarious pleasure out of it, and you sometimes felt you were being a voice for them, a sheet of paper for them when they didn't have a voice, or a sheet of paper. So that, I think that was part of its appeal. We went back through the old scripts, and Chris McVeigh and Alan Grant and David and I, and we were trying to work out where Gee's Wayne was first written down, and it wasn't. It just happened by itself, and Wayne was the hangdog dumb one, and used to say something dumb at the end of every sketch. And they'd go, and it started off as going, oh, Wayne, and then went to Wayne, and then went to, someone said at one stage, I think it might have been Chris McVeigh, oh, geez, Wayne, and then we started writing Gee's Wayne down, but I don't think anyone actually can claim authorship of it. And who would want it? It was pure middle New Zealand, and where I was brought up, and I understood the characters I was writing about, and I understood the situations because many of them were based on things I'd actually done as a teenager and things in Invercargill. all these mad money-making schemes that some of us used to have, which invariably went wrong. Commercial eeling and commercial possum trapping. God, they all went wrong, and it struck a chord, I think, with that big population which is Middle New Zealand. And because they understood it, because even if they weren't into things like that themselves, they all had a father or an uncle or a grandfather or someone like that who did those sort of things. So it did strike, it sort of struck the same chord, I think, that Barry Crump struck. And I think Gary McCormack's Heartland series struck. And I'd like to think maybe that Clutha thing, which was very popular in its own right. And I mean, despite what the sort of Ponsonby Road latte set said, I once heard I think it was a network executive said, I know they said it to David, he said, do people in the South Island really act like this? And thought, oh, get out a bit more, and it was very satisfying in getting the feedback and just that click feel that, yeah, we've got that one here. I went to the doctor beforehand and said I'm going to Burma, Myanmar. What do I need? And she had a look in a book and said, oh my God, you need everything. And which my bum must look like a pincushion by the time she'd finished. But we went there, and it was a very limited crew. And I went over there with Jake, the cameraman. We flew over together, and lost him in Hong Kong, and he'd lost his passport. And we were on tourist visas. We had no permission to film, and we were told the nearest place to here, I think you can get a visa to get into Myanmar, is Sydney. And they said, don't say anything about being a journalist or TV or anything, or they'll just, you won't get in. So we came up with a common story in case we got arrested, because our biggest camera was only about that big. And we were using two of those, that we were there as making just a family movie for my father, who was dying in the UK, and he'd served in Burma during the war, and just to give that was going to be our common story. And you didn't need it. It was pretty scary. I did think at the time, why the hell has TVNZ sent me here? Apart from a sort of twisted sense of humour, thinking, all right, we'll send Gadsby to some place where you get shot for doing political satire. Which, no, you don't get shot, you just disappear. The last day we were there, and Jake hated insects, and we were back in this hotel where we'd stayed the first night, a grotty place. And we'd finished filming, basically. And I opened the bathroom door, and this army of cockroaches came out, walking, the floor. And I said, oh, Jake, look. And he goes, ah! This big, brawny guy, Banks Peninsula boy, and jumps up on the bed, He's going, no, get him away. I grabbed his camera and said, got you.